Hello, all you beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of AM Podcast. I am your host, Matthew, and I am joined with my friends, Andrew and Rico. How are
I'm
you doing today, my friends?
doing good, Matt. Good to be here. Excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I've been looking forward to it all week. Actually, I've been looking forward to this one for about a month now.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Let me just say that Rico really tickled my fancy with this set of recommendations. This is my cup of tea. Let's just say that.
I'm quite
But
excited to this apple pie that we're going to call cinema. I'm very excited.
Yeah, these are
hell
two of
yeah.
my personal favorites. Like I honestly love these, the good and the bad all the way through. I love them so much. I wanted you guys to watch these from the very beginning.
Hell yeah, man! It was quite the episode. Yeah, I got lots to talk about.
Me,
Um,
a
yeah.
lot of notes. Very excited.
So yeah, take it away, Rico. What's going to be the first movie we talk about?
Right before we get into the movie, I'm pretty sure we had a comment. Do you guys want to talk about that first?
Of course, yeah. It was our first.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, man. Like our comment cherry was popped. This is so cool.
Yeah. By any chance, do you
It
guys
was-
remember who did the comment?
I'm YouTubing it right now. Give me 1 second so I
Please
can.
do. This kind soul. And by the way, I just read your comment before we started recording. Thank you. That is so sweet of you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I wanted to screenshot that and just share it just because it made me feel so good. I was like, oh my god, interactivity. I love it.
El Compa Crispy. I
Yeah.
dig it. I dig it.
Gotta embrace the roots, man. You know what I'm saying?
First comment,
But,
I'm going to remember that one forever.
But yeah, homie had a interesting recommendation. I'm glad he brought it up because we all watched the Joker deleted scene that was meant for the Batman, and they released it, and it's interesting. And yeah, what did you guys think about it personally?
Loved it. It just made me love the movie even more, and it was great. It was in a way reminiscent to the interrogation scene with Heath Ledger's Joker and Christian Bale's Batman, but it was like its own unique take on the idea of them just being in an interrogation room. Because reading a lot of Batman comics, that's kind of how they interact a lot. That's how Batman interacts with a lot of his villains. So it was fucking great.
Yeah, I gotta say, they really made the whole Joker Batman relationship seem a little bit more sensual. Like, kind of like how they do in a lot of interpretations of their whole relationship together. Especially when they were talking about the paper. Uh, like when they were saying about the anniversary, the first year is the paper year. And I actually really like that. I was like, I get that. That's a whole lovey-dovey thing. I like how they put that in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I picked up that he said the word anniversary. Like, hey, it's our anniversary. So, I mean, like I've said before, I'm more of like a surface level person when it comes to this comic book stuff. So, do you guys have any like further detail or insight into what that might mean?
You damn right we do, man. All right, so one thing for sure. Let me just cut right into it. So
Let's fucking go.
one of the things I thought that was really really great about this scene was that or just kind of like oh my god, I lost my train of thought because I got too excited. What was your question again, Matt? I'm so sorry.
It's okay, bud. I'm just curious. As like a surface level person with the comic books, what was he implying? Where he was like, "Oh, this is our anniversary." Like, obviously, they've met at some point, but
Yeah, like
are there are there any inspirations that you pick up on in this clip?
honestly, it just feels like it's just a homage to the relationship in general, like in the comics, because that's kind of how Joker is with Batman. He's sort of like he's he sees Batman as his friend in a really weird way, like his friend, so a companion, a brother in arms, because they're both doing something fairly similar to each other, except their methods are just radically different. and that's just kind of Joker's way. Like when he says, "Oh, it's our anniversary," it's kind of like he's jabbing at Batman. He's kind of already poking the bear with the stick, kind of thing. And that's what Joker does with Batman. He's always like pushing him, and just that little interaction alone is like it was great and it was well done. Again, I'm gonna be praising Matt Reeves. He fucking nailed it. It was great.
Yeah, and I feel like this whole anniversary is going to tie into basically Joker's origin of how he became Joker, surface level. Like, pretty much, I'm pretty sure that they're going to say that their first encounter was following the Red Hood. So,
Yeah,
pretty much he just had a bad day where Batman found him, and then basically accidentally pushed him into a vat of chemicals at the Ace Chemicals plant. So,
and just
Yeah, and you see that deformity in the clip too.
exactly.
yeah, and to touch up on Rico's point, like the Red Hood story for Joker is from Alan Moore's The Killing Joke comic book. It's one of the more popular Batman adaptations that I'm pretty sure a lot of like Batman directors, including Matt Reeves, have kind of read to do research on Batman.
That's crazy. Like a service level normie like me does know the Killing Joke. I've actually read it. I think I have a copy too somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the more popular Batman storylines. So it just
definitely
getting hints of that would be great, and I think Matt Reeves could definitely do something like that, or like his own take, kind of like what he did with developing Batman and his version of Gotham. Like I think his version of telling the Killing Joke, if he does want to do that, would be really cool. Or if he just kind of takes it in his own direction, it'd be interesting to see what he does with that.
honestly though, like I just want to chime in on how he looked. He looked super like just haggard. He looked beat to shit. There's everything. He had cuts all over him, like bald. He had more bald spots than he had like hair. Like,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I noticed that straight off the bat. I was like, oh wow, this Joker is very like decrepit, very like run through. Like he's been through some shit. You can tell.
and that's like the thing with Joker too. Like anytime like Joker and Batman like get into it, Joker always gets annihilated. Like he always gets torn up like to pieces and everything. And yet he's still out here just like laughing away and just like basically just goading him the entire time. Like I like how he's not just this crisp looking person. He's torn to shit.
It
Yeah.
makes it interesting just to kind of see like what Matt Reeves, if he does decide to, you know, kind of touch upon Joker in like the sequel or like any future movies, like how did this Joker get to that point where he looks like that? And him and Batman already kind of have a relationship. Like it's gonna be really interesting to see if he does end up touching on Joker anytime soon.
Yeah, and I would like to see like the dynamic between them, just because if Batman's coming to him, like for advice or like any inside tips on why the serial killer's doing the things he's doing, and maybe like he could get some information out of him. Like, I want to know how they got to that point too.
Yeah, that's something I definitely want to. I hope Matt Reeves will touch upon it at some point. But it's really interesting that he's kind of already just. It just brings me back to the point I made when we talked about the movie initially in our first episode, was how he has everything so thoroughly planned out, and it feels like everything he's doing, it feels like it's they're all coming up, and I want to see kind of like how they get to what we know them as. That's going to be really cool to see too.
Yeah, and it's still interesting that we're still in like, I think the Batman established that this was like year 2 Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's cool that we're seeing a lot of like the beginnings of some of these characters, like including, you know, Penguin too, to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see. Well, I don't know. Well, it does make you much more curious to see what the sequels have in store, because obviously he wants to do stuff with Penguin and Joker, and maybe even Riddler. I'm not even sure at this point, but Mr. Reeves just does seem like he does want to do something with all these characters. So it does make me curious on how movie 2 in this universe is really going to look like.
Yeah, that's like something you were talking about the beginnings, and that's something that I really liked that they did with this one. it doesn't even feel like a beginning with Joker. It just seems like he's already
Yeah.
been established. Like every single movie that we get with Joker, like it's always like their first encounter, and like, oh, this is gonna be like what builds up into their rapport later. But you never actually, in the movies at least, you never just jump in and they already have history together. Like I really want to see how they go with that.
And I love that you brought that up because that was something I really liked about the Batman too. It felt like a lot of shit had happened like beforehand, and we don't know what happens, and we're probably not going to see how they got to like where they are in the movie. I guess like where we initially meet them, like we're not going to see how when they first met up, and I kind of like that. It's cool. Like we already know who Joker is to Batman. Like we don't need to see him. We don't need another Joker origin story. Just how we didn't need to see Bruce Wayne's parents killed again. It's just like
Yeah,
we can skip that so we can get to a more intricate way of telling their relationship in a film. The story of their relationship.
and in that same
Yeah,
vein, like you could also like kind of infer like with Joker's final line too, where he's all like, "Let me guess, he deserved it." Like that's probably what you're thinking too. Like he deserved it. He's referencing the Riddler. He's saying that the Riddler, the way he got to where he is now, is probably because he deserved to pretty much have the kind of life that he lived, where it was just pretty shit on the entire time, and that the circumstances that he ended up with are his own fault, and that's what he deserves. But he's saying that in a mocking way, which means he's trying to put guilt on Batman for probably the circumstances that led to Joker being Joker. So the whole Ace Chemicals incident could be kind of like a what's it called? Kind of like interpreted that happened because that's basically Batman's biggest mistake that led to his biggest enemy, essentially. So he could be having this whole like relationship with Joker out of guilt of what happened.
That's true. That's a really, really well worded point, dude. Like that was really good because I didn't even look at it from that perspective, or like I think I probably was, but it didn't really click until you worded it like that. Because that was, yeah, man, that's great. That's a great fucking point. That's all I got for you right there. Because thank, thank you, Rico. Well done, my man. Well done.
I stumbled, but I tried to get what I was thinking out there.
Yeah, I
'Cause I
second
was
that.
ready to- I
Rico's
was
the
ready-
shit.
I was ready to make a counterpoint, just kind of like to add to what you were saying, but I was like just thinking more about what you said. I was like, wow, that was really nice.
Ah, thanks.
Yeah, and I also wanted to give like a shout out to. I'm sorry if I say this name incorrectly, but I'll try my best here. But the actor that's playing Joker, Barry Keoghan.
Yes,
I'm
dude.
sorry if I said that wrong. He is utilized. Okay, I'll be honest. Like even in, I'm not going to shit on Eternals completely. I'll save that for a future episode. But out of Eternals, not a good movie. But honestly, out of all the characters that were a part of the Eternals, I honestly say like Barry Keoghan's character of, I think it was Druid. I'm not 100%
Druid,
sure.
Yeah, Druid.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. He was 100% probably my favorite out of the Eternals. He definitely had like way more personality and a lot more motive behind his character in that movie. So I found him to be like the most interesting character in that. But as an actor, he did a really good job. Considering I think the Batman scene and the Eternals, I think that's the only exposure I've had to him. But he's done a good job. And I really do like his take on the Joker too, because it wasn't just like crazy anarchy right off the bat. I like that there was a build up to his laugh. It wasn't just thrown out there. I like that the clip was presented in a way of like it was like a build up. Like, all right, you guys are gonna hear his laugh. Just wait, and just even the dialogue they gave him too. Like he nailed it. Like I think he's obviously a way better Joker than Jared Leto, but that's not really a high bar to hop over. So but yeah, he did a fucking good job. Like hats off to Barry Keoghan.
And I kind of want to ask your point, Matt, like his filmography is really he's a really good actor. He was also in Dunkirk that Chris Nolan did. He also was in a
Oh yeah.
he was in Killing of the Sacred Deer. That was a really great. It was almost like an audition tape for him to play Joker. That's a quick recommendation I'm gonna throw out there. Killing of the Sacred Deer. It's on Netflix. It's an A24 movie, and it's a real. I don't want to say anything. Just go check it out. It's a really cool and interesting film. And I liked him in The Green Knight. He also has a part in that movie that was really good. Go see that one too. I want to talk about that one day though, but not today.
Wait, the Killing of a Sacred Deer or the Green Hornet?
The Green Knight. The Green Knight is the one I want.
Oh, the Green Knight. My bad. Okay.
You're good. No worries. You're all.
I've actually seen Killing of a Sacred Deer. He's very he's very demented.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm like. He's a really good actor. So when I had saw the clip and I see his performance, like his physicality, his projection, what he's saying, how he's saying it, like he just does it all so intricately and really, it's really well done. And I think he's a great actor. So I can't wait to see him in like this role in the future or whatever he does next. Like he's just a really good actor.
I 100% agree. I still have to watch The Green Knight. I think that's like the most recent movie he's been in besides Eternals. But from what I've seen him in, yeah, he's a solid actor. I'm excited to see what he does with the Joker in the future.
Now, for me, my only experience with what's his name, Barry Keoghan?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. My only experience with him is the Eternals. So I was a little shocked that he was going to be playing Joker. So I'm actually really
It was surprising for sure.
Yeah, you guys threw out some pretty crazy suggestions right there to watch for his list. So I kind of want to. I'm kind of getting a little excited thinking about it. I kind of want to give this guy a try.
You should, man. He's definitely a good slice of pie. He's worth the taste.
Yeah, man, he's definitely one of the better up and coming actors. I'm going through his IMDb, and there's like a few other movies where I recognize him in. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even realize he was in that. But yeah, I think he did it. I think he's going to be a good Joker. I appreciate that he is trying something different in terms of like the live action Jokers that we've seen. Yeah, I'm really curious to see what he's got. It's got me more anticipated for the Batman sequel.
Especially with how the Batman, the tone is, like, it does touch on a lot of, like, darker tones than the other ones, I feel like. So, I wonder if they're actually going to show, like, how scary the Joker actually is to, like, the normal person, you know? I'm actually really curious to see how dark they're going to get. And I feel like Barry Keoghan is actually going to be able to do that, because I was getting that feel during the trailer that he was pretty demented.
Yeah, and like I said earlier too, I really like his like subtle performance at the beginning where it does lead up to him laughing. Yeah, I really appreciate all the details that he's giving to Joker too. Like he's gonna be awesome, honestly.
Now, one question, guys. How do we feel about it being cut out of the movie?
I'm okay with it, honestly. Like, it does, like, afterwards, it does feel tacked on. Like, yeah, 100%, if it was in the movie, I would have loved it, but in a way, I am kind of glad that it wasn't part of the movie. I feel like it probably would have overshadowed Paul Dano's performance in the movie. Which, I mean, I'm not going to lie, like, I think he did good. I mean, he wasn't like my favorite aspect of the movie, but I am glad that it was kind of cut. I mean, it does add an extra layer of anticipation because it does kind of give you an idea of what's to come in the future. And I mean, like I said, they already kind of advertised it in the Batman with that cell scene with Riddler. So yeah, to have a little bit more of that, because you know when we first saw that, I was under the impression that there was way more footage on the cutting room floor. So I appreciate that they actually, you know, were like, okay, we actually have something cool here. Here you go. Here's something for the fans to anticipate. And it fucking worked, in my opinion.
Honestly, yeah. I'm glad that it wasn't in the movie, because not only, like, all the points you made are pretty much on point with what I was thinking from the start. But another thing, it's just, that's how you can tell Matt Reeves is he's a really smart director when it comes to like, what do I actually need to put in my movie, and is this necessary, or am I just hacking this in? And I feel like a lot of directors, especially within the superhero genre, kind of struggle with that. So I think it's cool when you get someone like that in like a kind of obscure genre like superheroes.
Yeah, you guys hit the nail on the head with that. Like, that's exactly what I was thinking. It just is like, it's something cool that they didn't need to, like, throw out there or show or anything, and they didn't need it in the movie. And having it come out as just like a deleted scene, it really does build that anticipation for the next, like, what's coming up. And what it reminded me of, and I kind of hope that this is something that they do, is I'm not sure if you guys ever played the Arkham series video games.
Of course.
A little bit, yeah. I'm familiar.
Yeah, so in the Arkham series games, you can get like collectibles where you hear like basically like therapy sessions with all the rogues gallery from Batman, and you kind of get like a little like story about them or something that just shows like where they are. And that kind of feels like what this deleted scene is. It's just like if they come out with another deleted scene where it's like Two-Face or Joker, or not Joker, Penguin, like something like just kind of like building up like anticipation to what's gonna come next through like these little scenes where people are already in Arkham, or where they're like referencing other people that are up and coming too. It's like that honestly would be the craziest thing to me. I would love that so much. That'd be like fan service to me.
I have one question for you guys. Well, I'm sorry, Andrew. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was just saying that like no, yeah, what Rico was saying, like it would be great to see that kind of stuff happen, or see what they would do similarly to the Arkham games. But that was all I was going to say.
Okay, so one last thing, and then we can move on to the recommendations, unless you guys have more points to bring up. One point I wanted to bring up is how do you guys feel about Joker being used again in a cinematic format? Well, I mean, even animated, I know he is a prevalent villain in Batman's discography, but would you rather see a different Batman story being adapted, or are you okay with another kind of like Joker story just kind of being done a different way?
You know, honestly, I feel like Joker has the most like reputation behind him, so it's like the safe call to do with a Batman movie, just because everyone loves Joker. So I have no problem, honestly, with it. But something that I would love to see in the Batman series is Zaz. Like, I feel like Zaz would be really good to have as a story villain in like these types of movies. What about you, Andrew?
Oh no, I'm. That's a great choice to bring up, honestly, because I don't know if I would like make him a main story focused villain, but I definitely see him as like a supporting villain in a way, because he's fucked up in the head. Honestly, Victor Zsasz is an interesting character that Batman has faced before, in like just in comic history and comic lore and animated lore, whatever the case may be. So it'd be cool to see someone like him. Me personally, I would want to see another adaptation of like Bane from the comics. That would be a really cool thing that they could do with the Batman storyline, and or in this universe's storyline, because we saw Batman. I don't know. For me personally, watching The Dark Knight Rises, it was cool to see that adaptation of. It was cool. Tom Hardy did great as Bane, and what Nolan saw as Bane in his version of Batman. But I definitely want to see one that's more in tune with the comics, and I think Matt Reeves could do something like that. And you can get someone like Dave Bautista down the line or something, or an actor with that range who can play a hulking, menacing character, but also has the ability to bring the intellect that Bane has in the comics. So that'd be another character I think Matt Reeves could definitely mess with if he doesn't want to just do Joker again.
Dave Bautista was a good choice, by the way. Like, I was picturing that, and I was like, that would fucking work, honestly.
That's a sick choice, yeah.
Right? Oh, man, because I think Dave Bautista is underrated, man. He's a good actor. He needs some love. Just quick, a little love for Dave Bautista. I loved him on WWE when I was a kid. Or, I mean, on SmackDown, like, loved it.
Yeah, dude, like, Yeah, I could definitely see like Dave Bautista as Batman, just because he's got a great range. He's gonna be like emotional, and then he could also just be stoic, but like the
Mhm.
good kind of stoic where there's still like personality behind it. I was
Yeah.
also thinking of like another villain that is very minor that I would like to see in it. It's a Firefly. Have you guys ever heard of Firefly?
Firefly is actually going to be the villain in Batgirl, the HBO movie coming out.
No way.
Yeah,
Wait, HBO movie?
Brendan fucking Fraser is playing Firefly.
Oh my god! Wait,
Wow.
Brandon Fraser?
Yeah, like yes, the Brendan Fraser from the Mummy movies.
Wait, what? Wait,
Yeah.
what's
You
this?
guys
This
not
is
know
gonna be a
about
movie?
Hold on. I know we're about to get really sidetracked. Sorry, guys. You didn't know there was a Batgirl movie coming out, and you didn't know Firefly was a villain, or I'm confused because they announced that shit a while back.
I
mean,
didn't hear about it.
There's so many things that are in developmental hell. So
That you-
like, honestly, yeah, I didn't know 100% sure, but I'm IMDbing it right now to see if I can find out any more info.
Man,
At least
Brandon Fraser, dude, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah, because he was recently in Doom Patrol for DC, and that's another show that they had released originally on their streaming service DC Universe, and then they just moved it to HBO Max with all the other DC properties.
It's interesting because, like, on the the IMDb page, the stars listed are Leslie Grace, J.K. Simmons, and
He is-
Michael Keaton.
And he's playing Batman again. Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to bring up to you guys.
Wait, what?
Yeah, because
Yeah, that's crazy.
in the new
Okay.
Flash coming out, he's going to be traveling the multiverse, and he's going to meet Michael Keaton's Batman. So that's why he's going to be in the Batgirl movie. And I don't know how it's going to correlate or how they're going to make that make sense, but that's what they're doing. Yeah, they're doing a lot of changes at DC. So,
That Flashpoint movie, though.
but we'll see when the movies come out.
That's
Dude,
crazy.
I wonder if
you,
we're gonna
you
get,
blew my
like-
mind about the Batgirl.
Yeah.
I mean, I mildly kind of knew about it, but like now that I'm like into it, I didn't know like the casting or anything like that.
Yeah.
Wow, man, that's honestly like melting my mind right now.
Yeah, we're gonna get it soon, the next year or two. It says it's slated for 2022, so I mean we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, because they've been filming it for a while, I think, or they are already wrapped filming, or I don't know what the case is. I know they were filming because there's set photos and everything, so.
Yeah, damn, that's crazy. I mean,
Mhm.
it does make me a little curious to see what they're doing with their whole universe. Like I said, the Flashpoint movie might, that in my mind, that's what makes sense. They're going to do some type of time travel bullshit to reset everything, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, we'll just have to see what the movies offer.
Yep.
All right, well, do you guys think you're ready to move on to the choices for today?
Yes, sir. I'm ready to go. That's all I have to say about the Joker scene.
I'm ready to go, but there's one more thing I want to bring up about the Joker scene. I just remembered. My roommate actually mentioned this to me. Apparently, in the scene, when Joker gives the file back, there's no paperclip. And when he got it initially from Batman, there was a paperclip there. So people were kind of touching upon that. So that's like a little factor. Just want to throw out there. Totally forgot about it until now.
Oh, shit. Okay, there is one thing I wanted to mention too, which I'm sure you guys would pick up on. I picked up I'm glad you brought up the documents because I picked up something too. It might not even be that, but it looked like doctor, like the word, like not like the word, but like DR, like the letters, and my mind went to doctor. So I was curious if that had any relevance to you guys.
I'm pretty sure he was showing him the picture that said drive. In the movie, remember when they kind of decoded it and it said drive and it led to the whole thumb drive thing? I think that's
okay.
him.
Oh,
It was
Yeah.
showing him about the Riddler.
Okay.
Mhm.
I remember
Okay,
what part
for
you're
sure.
talking about. Yeah, it's kind of hard trying to like place where this deleted scene could have been, like in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's after the events of the first movie. I'm not 100% sure though. I mean, like I said,
I'm pretty
that's
sure.
the feel I got.
I don't think it's towards the end. I'm pretty sure it's when he's like mid case. That's what the scene felt like to me.
Because he was still trying to get like the motive personality of the
Mm-hmm.
Riddler. I get that. I just didn't know like what like chronologically where this deleted scene would have been placed at.
Mm-hmm. That's just my guess. It could have been anywhere in the movie, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that's where it was, just for me personally. But yeah, that's the last thing I wanted to bring up.
Okay, right on. That was our thoughts on the Joker extended scene. We all liked it, and we're all anticipating to see where it leads in the future. I'm personally excited to see more Joker, and I'm curious to see what Barry Keoghan has to offer. But yeah. Would you like to move on to the recommended movies, my dudes?
Yeah,
Let's do
I'm
it.
down. I'm ready to go when you guys are.
All right, Rico, my man. Well, these were your recommended movies, so I'll let you take it away, my man.
All right. So the first movie we're going to be talking about is one of my favorite practical effect movies. It's called The Blob from 1988. So what this movie is about an outer space ooey gooey horror that comes to this earth and basically runs amok, ruining first dates and burning people that you would not believe would be the first to die. There's a lot of people here that I thought for sure were going to be the main characters, and it just pulled a fast one on me. I didn't think that a lot of the people were going to die that died. So that's pretty much the extent of the Blob. That's the guy, that's the big monster of the movie that just expands as he consumes more matter, and the more matter he consumes is usually that of organic matter, which is, unfortunately for this town, all the humans and citizens living within it. So I want to ask you guys, what'd you guys think of it?
I fucking loved it. Yeah, this was... Yeah, like I said earlier in the podcast, like, you really tickled my fancy with these two recommendations. And what's crazy is that, like, when I was... I felt kind of bad, but when I was watching it, like, I did... Apparently, I have watched this movie years ago, but, like, I watched it when I was probably, like, maybe, like, 18 or 19. I was a lot younger then. But as I was watching the movie, I did discover that I did watch this movie before, but I'm watching it now with, like, a different lens now that I'm older. And there was a lot more to appreciate that I didn't really pick up on my first viewing. But yeah, I do like that you brought up the point that you didn't like it subverts your expectations in ways that you don't expect, especially with the main character, because the movie does set up a main character essentially. It sets up kind of like a very stereotypical kind of jock who's going to be our main dude. And hold on, let me just pull up his name really quick.
I think it was Paul, right?
Yeah, I think it was Paul.
Okay, thank you. I didn't have to go through that whole search, but yeah, Paul is set up as basically the main character, and you know, spoiler alert. This is going to be a full spoiler discussion, but within the first, like, I think third of the movie, he dies.
Yeah.
And freaking, it's really set up in a way that is shocking because you don't see it coming whatsoever. And I love that setup too, because I like that this movie is setting your expectations up in a way only to subvert them. And I love that intro because we get this fucking creature that comes out of outer space, and I think it's close to the homeless dude, I believe, and then he wants to go explore it. And I don't know, I love the idea of having a monster that isn't necessarily like sentient. It's just kind of reacting. It just consumes and consumes, and it just keeps going and going. It doesn't necessarily have a motive. It just keeps growing. It's just like a bacteria, like a virus of some sort. And Yeah, I love everything that this movie had to offer. I mean, there are a few nitpicks here and there along the lines of like the acting and how some of these effects looked, but honestly, for the most part, this was right up my alley. Like, I had a really good time with this movie personally.
I think it was really it was an entertaining movie for sure. I definitely I noticed a lot of similarities between this film and John Carpenter's The Thing. There's a
Hmm.
lot of similarities to me, and I wasn't even looking for the similarities, but I just kind of started picking up on them as I was watching the movie more and more. But it didn't really ruin the movie for me, or it didn't like take me out of the experience. Uh, what was I going to say next? Right, because I realized The Thing. I think it came out. It was like 1982, and this came out in 1988. Right, Rico?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
I
Yeah.
think the thing was 1980, but
Was it?
that's it. Yeah.
Okay, for sure. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I felt like this movie, similar to what Matt was saying about how the Blob is just a reactionary kind of like creature. I feel like this movie was a reaction to the Thing, and it's not like a criticism or an insult, but it's more of like someone saw the Thing and was like, "I have a similar idea." So this movie can work. Let me try it my way or make my version of it. So I thought that was interesting, especially with like the creatures themselves. Like there are differences for sure, but there are a lot of similarities. Like how they both have an elemental weakness. Like the Thing's weakness was fire, and the Blob's thing was ice, or like the cold. So I noticed that, and then also, I just kind of made me laugh a bit when I saw this similarity. The protagonists are fairly similar. They're both roughneck bad boys wearing cool jackets with nice hairdos with a I don't give a fuck attitude. So I noticed a lot of similarities there too.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it one quick thing too is like it's yeah, 100% is like the thing was an inspiration in this, and like I was curious if you guys picked up on any of the movie posters that kind of looked like the poster of the thing, where it's basically just like a guy standing with like a very bright background. There was like a few shots in the Blob that it had that poster of the thing. It didn't specifically say the thing. I think it was advertising like another type of like
Mhm.
generic movie within that universe. But I did pick up on like, okay, like they are for sure referencing the thing right there with those movie posters. And yeah, that is like 100% something I picked up on too upon watching this. It's just, moved around a little bit. The major difference between these creatures, I think, is that the thing to me is sentient. It is like intelligent. Or
Mhm.
aside, like the blob is just kind of like some mindless creature that, like I said, it just consumes and it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And and in some ways, it is more terrifying than the thing. I mean, I would personally say that the thing is a better movie and more terrifying as a sentient creature. But
Mhm.
the thought of just having a creature that doesn't even think, it just consumes and it just keeps going and going and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Like that in and of itself is also just terrifying.
No, yeah, I loved that about it. That whole concept of like it's an unstoppable force, but on top of that, it doesn't even really have self awareness that that's what it's doing. It's just doing what it does, and there's no real explanation to why it does it. It just does it. And as I was watching it, I was like, that's really fucking terrifying when you think about that. And like there's no realistic way to stop it in a way, as the movie was kind of portraying. And I also, along with some of the kills in this movie, that was another similarity to the thing. Like I liked it. It was I that was one of my favorite aspects about John Carpenter's The Thing is just how the creature was kind of like how it kind of had those crazy prosthetic effects, like the
Hmm.
practical effects. I love that in the Blob too. Like their practical effects were really good, and it was really cool to see some of them. Like the when the chick is consumed in the phone booth, that
Yeah.
was crazy. I was like, "Yo,
Yeah.
that's terrifying." I was like,
Yeah.
"Jesus."
Yeah, that shit was freaking the this movie sets up so many claustrophobic scenarios, and that
Yes.
one in particular, I was like, holy shit, this scenario is unwinnable. You can't get out. You're like it's so horrifying because like you as an audience know she's dead, but her in the moment, she's trying her hardest, like, well shit, what are my options? She doesn't have any.
Yeah,
And it's just
Yeah.
exactly. And
that was just
that's like one of my favorite things too there, because like early in the movie they're setting up this like possible potential romantic like story between that character and the sheriff, and so it makes you think that when she keeps trying to call the sheriff, that the sheriff is going to come by and like figure out a way to get her out of there. It gives you hope, like, oh yeah, of course, that's how movies go, you know, the romance is what's going to save her from this situation. But then you see the sheriff in the Blob, like,
Oh, yeah.
man.
Yeah, that realization, I was like, holy shit. Yeah, this thing is unstoppable. And it does make you, think how you would deal with this type of situation. If it wasn't for the characters going into the freezer, obviously. Well, okay, actually, that actually brings up a good point of mine. I do love a lot of the callbacks or like the early foreshadowing in the movie. Like, for example, the ice truck at the beginning where he goes to the mechanic and, I think it was like chilling their beers or something like that. But, I found it interesting that, that's going to be the machine that he uses later. And then I think there was, trying to think of a few others, but I was a fan of the foreshadowing in this movie. There was a lot of things that they presented early on that did come back around. Like another one where, what you call it? I think his name was Brian, the motorcycle dude.
Brian Flagg?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. Like, or yeah, that instance at the beginning of the movie where he's trying to make the jump and then he eats shit, and then later on in the movie where he's being chased by, I think the oh my god, not FBI, but he's getting chased, and then he finally does make the jump. And I love all those little foreshadowing moments earlier in the movie that do come back around at the end.
Yeah, with that one in particular, I always felt like he was gonna make that jump, mainly because if he didn't make it, he would be okay with dying, just because he seemed like he was like filled with rage a little bit, because he was all like just sitting on the floor. I think he was drinking or smoking a cigarette or something, and just out of anger gets up, gets on the bike, and he's about to take off and everything. That kind of like bails out last second, and it's like in the beginning he was doing it. I always interpreted it as like he was doing it so that he could like kind of end it all, but then like was too scared to because he didn't want to die. And then at the end of the movie, he hits that jump, makes it because he wants to live.
Okay. I mean, I personally didn't get like suicidal vibes from Brian. Honestly, he just kind of came across to me as like a rebel because I honestly might have missed it, but I noticed that like does he have parents in the movie? I don't think they're ever brought up.
His parents are, I think his parents are brought up, and they're not very good people, from what the sheriff was saying.
What they had their explanation in the movie using like dialogue was I think the sheriff brought up like the dad like bailed the town and never came back, and then his mom is just always like I think it was like she's like, I don't know if it was like a prostitute or a drug addict. They were implying something like that, but they don't flat out say what she was or whatever. So I think that's
like she's always gone at nights or something like that.
Yeah, some shit like that. So, but I definitely I kind of see what Matt was saying. I didn't necessarily get suicidal vibes off of Flag, but I could definitely see that being interpreted, and that could have been a real kind of like possible character trait that the writers wanted Flag to have, but they wanted it to be subtle.
I like that he has a redemptive arc too by the end. He was kind of like the unsung hero that we weren't aware of until it happened. Like, plus, like Brian does do some badass things towards the end. Like that scene where he was rescuing. I'm sorry, I'm awful with character names. I think her name was Meg, I believe.
Yeah, it was Meg.
Meg, yeah.
Yeah,
Meg.
he is. He rescues her and he puts her on the back of the motorcycle, and the thing is in the sewers blocking their path. And I love that he basically just duked it, freaking moved a little bit more to the right, freaking just drove past it.
Yeah, he
like,
rode that pipe basically in a
Yeah,
non-sexual
yeah.
way.
Yeah, so I do like his arc by the end. Like, Homeboy is 100% a hero.
Yeah, and
But,
the thing about
oh,
him
okay.
too is that even before that, like he was actually doing some good Samaritan things. Like he helped that one homeless guy get to the hospital as well. He was helping everyone actually, but everyone kept talking shit on him, saying that he's no good, he's a piece of shit, and that he's doing it for the wrong reasons. And he was actually doing it for good reasons, but everyone kept talking shit on him, so he just kind of stopped doing it. And then when all those people that were talking shit on him were eliminated, like he was just out here doing him.
Yeah, and yeah, I really do like his character, considering, he has an arc and all that stuff. Are there any other characters in this movie that really stuck with you? I mean, fuck, the ones that lived. I mean, this
Yeah.
movie is like relentless in terms of its kill count. Like, fuck, old people aren't safe,
hmm
regular people aren't safe, people of color aren't safe, kids aren't safe. Like,
Yes.
bro, this movie like actually goes into the territory of killing the kids and actually like goes through with it. Like,
Yes.
oh no, I'm not saying I need the kids to be killed in my horror movies, but like I do appreciate it if you do, present the danger and then there are consequences for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, holy shit, yeah, the oh boy, like that little boy having that sweater, especially like that scene where they're trying to escape and he has that freaking. That's actually another callback too, where like the mom puts on his jacket, and then
Yeah.
later on
Oh.
that same jacket almost got him killed.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, this thing is relentless. And yeah, like I said, it killed a kid. I was like, wow, they actually went there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the effect after he was dead when he was trying to reach out to grab Meg, and you just see the kid is just enthralled in the blob, and you're like, "Good lord!"
Yeah. The way the blob kills, it's ugly. It is so gross. It's just body horror, skin melting. You know that everyone that gets taken by the blob, they are suffering. Like they are still sentient enough to be like, ah, please help me, get me away from this thing. But they are melted. They're just gooified. They're just so gross looking, and I love it. Like that is like no one is safe, and it's like what Matt was saying, like with the little kid dying, the little friend. Like you see all these other movies, anytime like a kid is in danger, like the monster will kind of like pump the brakes a little bit, giving someone else enough time to like come in for the clutch save. This one, it didn't give a shit. It just took his ass.
Yeah.
It was like that's just another number. Like come on, like
He was like, I'm craving an appetizer. Come here, kid."
yeah, dude. Like it did not give a shit. It was just pure instinct, and I love that. That's what makes the stakes so much higher. Is that your kids will die. Everyone
Yeah.
will die. No one is safe from this thing.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, like this being isn't sentient. It doesn't think. It just reacts. It's just growing, and it just keeps going and going and going. And I love that. Like, and to go back to Andrew's point of it being similar to the thing, I do love like the intro is very similar to the thing as well, where it's like a comet coming out of space and then it just crashes somewhere. And I love that kind of intro because it can just set up all kinds of possibilities.
Yeah, I literally have that put down in my notes, so I'm glad you brought that up because that's literally one of the first things I noticed instantly when I started watching it. I was like, just like the thing, except it's like a meteorite and not a spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What did you guys think about the how did you guys feel about the military in this movie?
All right. So
They
I really
they filled their part.
yeah, they filled the part for getting to the end basically, but
They're very
I
dumb.
I thought they were very very dumb, like incredibly dumb.
The worst. You know what was my favorite part that like it made me audibly laugh was when like they get out of the sewer or whatever, right? And then the main scientist guy gets sucked into the manhole And then the sergeant is just like, "Open fire, boys!" And then just starts shooting at the Blob.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Grenade out.
Grenade! And I was just
Frag
like,
out.
Like, you guys know what this thing is capable of, right?
I said you were researching this. What made you think bullets would work? I thought you knew they don't.
And that's the thing,
Yeah.
too. That's the thing, too. Like, they created it. Like, I forgot about that for a second. Yeah, they created it. It's bacteria that went out on a satellite that came back, and it mutated cosmic rays or whatever, and it mutated, and it's actually their creation.
Exactly. So it's like, come on, man. Like, you deserve to die if you're trying to shoot at a thing that can just dissolve whatever is around it. Like, come on.
Yeah, that whole sequence towards the end where, like, the blob is, formed enough to be big enough to be, like, a huge threat to come out of the ground. And freaking, I love all the practical effects that are going on there. Like, I really particularly like this one shot where, like, this guy, I think it's the main idiot who was like, "Open fire!" in the tunnel, and he's about to die. And his last thing before he dies is he pulls 2 grenades, and freaking, you don't even see an explosion. The blob just comes down and smashes and kills him. And then, like, there's, like, 2 frames, maybe 3 frames later, where you see that explosion in the blob. And it had 0 effect.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, holy shit. Like, this thing is, like I said, if it wasn't for the cold, like, this thing is basically unstoppable.
Andrew, do you, by the way, I just want to ask real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys notice how bad the CGI got at the end?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Once I saw the miniatures being used, I was like, okay, so that's like a toy truck that they're kind of like crushing or whatever, and they're using the blob CGI wise. And I was just like, okay, can tell it came out kind of thing.
Yeah, it kind of bummed me out because I was really hoping, because I haven't seen the movie in a couple years before rewatching it again, and for Murder, I completely forgot how bad it looked. I was really hoping that they're going to stick with practical effects with that and just like perception of the mind, like perception of the eye, just make it seem bigger and more menacing. But the way they went about it was very bad.
It was
like, there was one particular scene where Brian was straight up in front of a green screen. Like, it was so obvious. And like I said, it doesn't take me out. I'm still entertained by this movie, but there are some, like, few technical errors that you pick up on here and there.
Yeah, well, maybe we should actually get into the errors. Like, what Andrew, for instance, like, what bothered you about the movie? Like, was there anything that stood out to you that kind of made you like recoil a bit?
Well, definitely just how dumb the military guys were. That kind of took me out of it for sure. And I know this isn't like, it's more of a personal bias and like a legit criticism. I'm not always a fan of like when a movie is similar to another movie that does something better. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Honestly, I kind of echoed the same thoughts, except that, like, for me, the Blob did do enough different with that kind of formula for me to enjoy it. Like I said, I'm still going to rate this thing very highly, but it is very obviously inspired by The Thing, and I mean, that's not really necessarily a bad film to be inspired by, especially if you do your own spin on it and it's good. Like, like, this is still like a great movie to me. Like, I love this thing.
Yeah,
but it does do enough different stuff with the formula for it to stand out to me. Like, they did a good job here. Like, the only things that really bothered me are probably like a few of the minor effects that kind of took me out of it. Honestly, there's not really too many criticisms I have besides those few technical errors and whatnot. But yeah, other than that, I still had a really good time with this movie.
Yeah.
Are there any like other points you guys want to bring up?
I kind of wanted to talk about the writing a little bit, because that was another thing. Like, to answer Rico's question, was something that kind of was like, it took me back a second. I was kind of like, I don't know about this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just, and it's not like it's terribly written. Like, it's like dog shit writing. It's just like, it's bad enough writing where you can go, that probably wasn't the best line to use, kind of thing.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, some of the acting too, it just didn't really hit well with me. It's like, for instance, right in the beginning, I can't remember his name, but he's the friend of the original. What's his name? Oh man, I'm spacing out so bad. I'm sorry about that. Paul. So it's
Deputy Bill.
no, so it's Paul's. Oh, Deputy Bill sucks too. But
The pervy guy, right?
yeah, the pervy guy. Yeah, Paul's
Yeah.
friend. He's like a pervert guy. And when he's like seducing this one girl, like her acting is pretty terrible. And he's like, all right, well, let me just go make us a cocktail, basically, and goes and he's like gonna roofie her and shit. And it's like,
Yeah,
what the
Homeboy
fuck?
has a whole bar in his trunk. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
I was like, this guy's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's reducing his like increasing hers, and like I'm like, bro, what a dick. I was like, oh my god, dude.
I enjoyed watching his death. His death was very enjoyable. I was like, well done, the Blob.
Yeah, you're gonna get blobbed.
Yeah, even though it went through the girl,
I know.
the
Yeah.
Poor little thing. I mean, at least she went in her sleep, guys, so it's not all bad.
victim. Yeah, but yeah, man, damsels were not safe either. Victims were not safe.
No one was safe. Not from the Blob.
Not from the Blob.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to get into as well is that I am a huge fan of this intro to the movie. Like, I'm definitely not one of those guys who likes to watch, just a black blank screen with text of who directed it, who wrote it, all that stuff. Just very boring intros. I love that this intro kind of builds up the ominous of what's about to come. It's the camera's just panning through the town. There's no one there. It does set up an ominous feel of what's to come. But I do love by the end of that shot, they're all just, I believe, at a football game. And, that's just what the town does. And, I just love that whole intro where it's just setting up what's to come. Very dark and ominous.
I want to piggy point, Matt, because I really like the intro too, because not only does it give that feeling, it also gives this feeling of isolation. Like, they're in a very small rural town. Like, there's not a lot of like the government, they knew exactly where to go, because it's like a perfect spot for them, if anything, because it's like it's in the middle of nowhere, so we can contain this now, which is like, that was the only smart thing that the government kind of had going for them in this movie. But I like that sense of isolation that the movie sets up.
Yeah, that's honestly going back to what Matt was saying about the way it set it up with those shots before. I love how they showed the cemetery, and then they pan up, and then right across the street is the football field with, assumably, the entire like town, like they gathered there to watch it, kind of signaling that like, hey, death is real close in many different like ways you can interpret that to this town. Like, it's not gonna end well for this town.
Yeah.
Because their spoiler is a terror with no shape, the Blob. So you better scream now while there's still room to breathe.
Yeah, honestly though, like shit, this thing is suffocating, and it's just horrifying because you see some of those people like in the Blob, they're still like kind of alive in a way.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
see like the reaction on their faces as they're in this thing, and it's just so like that extra detail that goes into the effects for this movie. Like, they went such a long way, and it's insane to me because I looked up the budget to this movie, and this I just want to get guesses. What do you guys think this movie was made for?
I don't want to say anything because I'm actually looking at it right now.
Okay. Ah, Rico, you looked it up. God damn it. You ruined the fun. Okay, but Andrew, just out of curiosity, I'm curious what you think this movie was made for.
I didn't want to say anything because I looked it up too.
Ah.
Because as soon as you brought it up, I was like, he's gonna want to know what the box office is. I got this. And then by the time you
Yeah.
said, what are your guesses? I went, oh shit, we were supposed to guess.
Yeah, it's okay. No worries, no worries. But $10 million. Not too bad for effects work. And it really bums me out that it grossed only like 8.2 million at the box office. I mean, this was definitely one of those things that kind of had legs, and people found much later on. And yeah, I can definitely see why this is like a cult classic. Like I've always heard about this movie before I watched it.
The thing I love about this is that they took like a antagonistic entity that could have been very boring, like something like as formless as the Blob. Like there's no personality behind it. It could have been a very boring, like movie monster type of thing, but they made it like super memorable. And I'm like, it does bum me out that they took such a very loose like a threat and they made it into such like a suffocating presence. I love it. I'm like it really does bum me out that no one's talking about it anymore.
Yeah, I actually well, okay, to brighten you up, Rico, I actually did watch this movie on the whim of like another like YouTube video like several years ago. But yeah, I mean, I watched a video that recommended it, and that's how I came to discover it. So I definitely do think that this movie is getting a lot more praise nowadays, especially with like the horror crowd who will I mean, I love horror. Like I'm definitely a part of it. Like we'll watch anything, but I do love watching pieces like this where it's actually like it's good, presented well, the effects are done very well, the acting is good for the most part, the directing's good. Like everything about this movie, just like I said, it really fancied my tickle, or it tickled my fancy, Rico.
Fancy
You
your
did a
tickle. I
great
like
job
that
on
better.
this set of recommendations,
Thank
and
you.
I
Thank
applaud
you.
you for it.
Yeah,
Hey,
me too.
thank you.
Rico, this was I had heard so much about the Blob and I'd never seen it, and I was a little hesitant. And then once I started watching it, I became more hesitant because of how similar it felt to the thing. But honestly, I had a good time with it. It was fun and entertaining. It's a lot. I feel like one of the things you have to do with horror movies is just, and it's not like an insult to like it's not saying there are people who make these films that don't have the ability to like have better writing or better direction, but more of like just turn your brain off. It's a horror movie. You don't need an explanation for every single thing. Like they're going to be dumb decisions made because if there wasn't, there'd be no movie kind of thing at the same time too. So I feel like some people kind of miss that aspect of horror movies, and or like kind of miss the point of horror movies. But nowadays, some horror movies use that too much. They let the characters make too many dumb decisions, and that's what makes the movies bad.
Oh yeah, and they have no fucking self-awareness like Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Yeah.
where they
Yeah.
just make complete and utter shit. And yeah, there's zero creativity. There's no passion behind it. Yeah, this thing actually is the opposite of that. It does have passion. You can tell the people actually gave a shit while they were making it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll definitely take this over, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, of course, and like other passionless horror projects.
Yeah, and that's honestly like I feel like the time for horror movie remakes has already passed because it's like this is a remake of I believe it was 1933. I believe it is 38. The original Blob that came out. This is a remake, and this is like you see it. This is passion. This is something that they it wasn't just like, oh yeah, it's just the name itself will give us attraction. We can just kind of like throw it to the side, just throw, oh yeah, here's a movie, give us some money. This is like they put a lot of work into this. Like everything is just so ugly, and it's just it puts those emotions into you. It's amazing. Like nowadays, you're just banking off of a franchise that has a name to it.
That, or you're casting really good looking people and they're going up against another good looking person who's just evil and uses like a weapon or a knife. Like I missed a lot of the horror movies that had like that grotesque kind of aspect to them. Like, you know how Jason was deformed, Freddy Krueger was deformed, Pennywise is a psychotic clown, and it was just like, so I feel like a lot of horror movies are just missing that mark and they're just going for the remakes, but they're not understanding what made the original one so good. Like, you gotta have that sense of like dread, that sense of like not everyone's gonna get out of here. Like, because I feel like, for example, let's say they were to remake, like, I don't know, Halloween, and they had cast like Ryan Reynolds as the lead. Like, you know, Ryan Reynolds is not gonna die in that movie. It's Ryan
Oh
Reynolds.
God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like,
Oh
no,
man.
we all love Ryan Reynolds. I'm not trying to bash Ryan Reynolds. I don't want that. He's a handsome man. If I wasn't straight, he's first on my list. Like, I'm just, but like, it's, you know, there's that realization nowadays, and I kind of hate that about horror movies, which is why I hate to hear when there's like a famous actor that's gonna be in a horror movie, because you know their character is more than likely safe.
Yeah, and I think that's
Yeah.
what gives like Scream like a lot of like praise, is because they killed Drew Barrymore off like in
Instantly.
the opening like scene of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of sad that it's gotten to the point where if you see a big name, that's kind of the case where you know that they're safe. So it's like, and it's sad that Scream did the opposite of that. They made the big name die in the movie like very early on, and it's praised for that. And it's like, that shouldn't always be like the situation. Like, that's a trope from horror that I hope that they stray away from. Like, just anyone's on the table. Like, no one is safe. I love that more than anything.
And honestly,
Yeah.
like, and there's people who can make the argument like, well, what's the point of casting a big name actor if you're not going to use them in your entire movie? And it's like, well, in some movies you can make that argument, but when it comes to like a horror movie where people are supposed to be scared and everyone's is like not safe, it's smarter to do that versus just letting like a superstar actor who's like a supporting role they stay alive the entire time because of their title, and it just feels like an overblown cameo kind of thing. If that makes any sense.
No, yeah.
No,
exactly what
I
was
understand
thinking.
what you mean, bro.
For sure.
All right, so final thoughts. Is there anything you guys want to throw in?
The Blob 2 question mark?
Yeah, okay. I actually did want to talk about that. Yeah. So that whole scene with the priest,
Oh, yeah.
and it's so crazy because okay. One thing I want to mention before we get into my actual point. I love that scene where he's in the pharmacy with the two dudes and he's like getting condoms. He's like, oh, like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, like, I'm just not doing anything, Pastor. He's like, oh, do you want ribbed or regular? And then fucking later on, that scene comes back around where he's going to see his daughter, and all he says is ribbed. I fucking lost it, bro. I was like, okay, that was good.
That caught me off guard.
And what a great friend to just be like, oh no, it's from him. He's gonna meet up with this girl. He, like,
Yeah.
What a great friend.
Absolutely.
But to my point though, it's weird because this movie does set up a sequel that we don't get, do we?
No,
Is there a sequel to this?
not to this one.
Okay, I thought not. I thought that was a little like. I mean, don't get me wrong. I could definitely see people making the argument how it does make sense for like religious symbolism, but I don't know. It did definitely seem like they were setting up like a sequel or something.
Andrew, what did you
They
think?
probably didn't have money for it. Maybe the movie didn't gross what it needed, or maybe just people didn't. I don't know. There's probably a lot of factors back then that led to not having the sequel greenlit.
Yeah, that's honestly because it didn't have like that great of a box office. Like the
No.
numbers from it was not very good. So it was considered like kind of a bomb in many's opinion, but
Oh, okay.
which is kind of sad because this is quality right here. I feel.
So I'm curious. Was a sequel being set up? Like, was that like something that was in their mind?
Probably.
I would very much like to think so, because That would have been awesome. I would have loved to see an entire franchise be built off just the Blob.
Be interesting.
Yeah, especially with the team that they had, I feel like they could have easily like made it into something bigger. Like I feel like they had enough creativity. You can definitely see that in the kills. Like you can see that in the connections that they were making and just how they were defying every horror trope. They obviously did their homework on all of it, and it seemed like they could have easily. This is the kind of team that if you're gonna make a franchise off of something simplistic like a Blob, you could definitely make it with this team. I wish that they continued further.
Yeah, I'm going over through like some of the critical responses, and this is something like a quote from the director Chuck Russell said. Maybe it was a mistake to do a remake of The Blob with a sense of humor. I thought that that would be an entertaining interpretation. Unfortunately, it was released late in a very hectic summer filled with big films, and it didn't have a particularly good ad campaign. So that's his quote going into like the reception of this movie. And it kind of sucks too because like in retrospect you do realize how much better and special this movie is compared to movies around the time, and it's sad to see that it's just another example of like one of those movies that kind of gained more popularity as it garnered throughout the years. It kind of just achieved that cult status by a lot of horror aficionados just checking it out.
Man, that actually is kind of sad. It kind of makes you wish that they either just released it later, like kind of like taking into account like the competitive spectrum that they were going to be in by releasing it during that time. Like you kind of wish that they just held off on a bit longer and just built up like some marketing behind it.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, like I said, I do like that it did find its audience much later on. Like I said, with like horror aficionados out there, and just practical effects gurus too, like yourself, Rico.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think it has a place in both of those avenues, and like I said, I definitely think it's found its popularity over the years.
Yeah, and that's actually something that gave me a lot of inspiration for the first skit that we are planning on doing for Practically Done about the practical effects. Is I took a lot of inspiration from the ideas that we were pitching to each other through this movie. Like the preacher at the end, like that was the presence that I had going into when we were like brainstorming for that script. Very loosely over the phone. I got
okay. I see it a lot more now. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
that's what I was thinking, especially with like when I saw the prosthetic arm getting taken out of the Blob in the very beginning of the movie. From
oh yeah,
that was another thing that's like rewatching the movie. I was just like, man, I'm filled with so many juices for this. I wanna get my hands in there already. Like this movie like inspired me still, dude. I have so many ideas for things that we could all do in the future.
I can't wait to do it.
Hell yeah,
man. The practical effects in this movie, I mean, I know we didn't talk about it much, but the practical effects and gore in this movie are top notch. Like they did a very good job in that department. You can tell the budget went there.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, scene wise, it's all confined to like one area. So it's like, yeah, they definitely put the money where I feel like it mattered.
Absolutely.
I agree.
You guys Sorry, Andrew.
Oh no, I was just saying I agree.
Do you guys want to get into ratings, or are there any other points that you guys want to delve into?
I'm ready to go for ratings.
Yeah, I'm definitely good to go.
Okay. All right. I'll start us off. Yeah, like I said, I watched this movie previously, so many years ago, and rewatching it this time for the podcast was a nice refresher. There are a lot more things I appreciated about the movie that I didn't pick up on in my first viewing. And yeah, overall, this is a movie that's right up my alley. I love it. It's definitely something I'll buy on Blu-ray. I'll definitely add it to my collection. I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it really garners that 10 out of 10 rating or 9. So I'm going to land on an 8 out of 10. Very great movie. Love it. I'll definitely rewatch it again in the future. Thank you for the recommendation, Rico. It was fucking awesome.
No problem, dude. Andrew, how about you, man?
All right. So I definitely had a good time with this movie. It was very, very fun, good horror, great visual effects for the time, especially. Like, it was a fun movie to watch. You know, it's not like this Oscar baity kind of movie. It's not like this, like, high octane action movie. It's like a suspense thriller with such a simple premise. And I feel like simple premises can always make the ideal movies you want to watch. So I'm gonna give this movie a 7 out of 10. I really liked it, really fun. The only reason it's out of 7 is because, unfortunately, I enjoyed it a little less once I started noticing the similarities to the Thing, like I mentioned before. But like I said before too, it's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. It doesn't ruin the movie for me. So it was a great time and definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, perfectly put. That's got to be like probably the same like criticism I have too of it. Um, if I was to rate this being like one of my favorite movies, I would still rate this at a 8 out of 10. Same thing with Matt too. Is this I would hit it with an 8 out of 10 just because it does stumble when it tries to leave practical effects, like when it goes into the more CGI special effects that go on towards the end. It really starts tumbling there, and it was just a really weird choice to step out of something that they were like proficient in doing that. And then at the same time, like you do see kind of like a lot of these characters, the most memorable thing about them is their death. And I know that that's something that they wanted to focus on, but I mean, other than the two main characters, I don't remember anyone's name. like,
Yeah.
we stumbled throughout trying to figure out their names the entire like review of it, and that just goes to show, like, if you think of like the Warrior, we remembered almost everyone's name. Like in that, we remembered everyone's name. Like everyone was a character. Like they were like something more. This one, you know their title. You know that they're either a deputy, a sheriff, the rebel, the
Yeah.
main female protagonist, the kid. Like that's how you know. You know them by the title. You don't know them by like that's Jonathan. He wants to go to college. Like you don't like you don't know them for
That's
like
a good point. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a very like here are the characters, and then this is how they die. That's kind of how it is. So it's a lot of that. I love this movie. Even though I give it an 8 out of 10, I know it's not the best in the world. You know, like if I was to compare it to like The Thing, because that's another movie that's practical effects driven with a body horror. It is the lower of the two, but by no means terrible. I love this movie so much. So 8 out of 10 for me.
For sure.
Hell yeah. Freaking, there we go. Freaking 7 and 2/8. Freaking awesome movie. And with that out of the way, we now move on to our next movie, Starship Troopers, recommended by our one and only Rico. So,
Yes.
yeah, take it away, my man. Present Starship Troopers.
All right. Let me present Starship Troopers, but first present you guys with a question. How badly do you want to be a citizen?
I want the right to
Bro,
vote,
no.
sir.
Now,
Man.
would you be willing to join your military for the right to vote, for the right to do anything?
Well, I still have
in
my
life?
arms and legs.
Will you though?
Will you though?
Jesus Christ.
If you
I
study,
lost all my limbs, but hey, I can vote.
yeah, in this movie, if you do not study well in high school, it will actually impact your entire future. So those SATs, you better study your ass off for those, or else you're going into infantry. And
Yeah.
from what we've seen in Starship Troopers, being boots on the ground is probably the worst place you could possibly be.
Yeah.
But this movie presents it as it's the best.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Now, in Starship Troopers, it's a, you can call it a utopian world, depending on how you view certain things, or you could look at it as what many would call a dystopian future where the military is basically the all-encompassing government, where if you want to have freedom and to vote, freedom to, I believe, marry, freedom to do many like basic things that we take for granted nowadays, you have to join the military. And that's something that I feel like I forgot when I went into this movie, and then when I saw it again, I was like, "Yep, I remember this movie for the propaganda."
Yep.
And
It's a huge propaganda film, and I
yeah,
love that.
I love it so much. And so this movie is basically about humans thinking that they're superior and thinking that they could just wipe off an entire species just because they're not as intelligent as themselves, and getting a little too cocky and finding out that these bugs do bite. So that is the essence of Starship Troopers, and I'm very curious to know, what did you guys think about this movie?
Well, I just want to segue from what you were just talking about the species and just kind of talk about that for a minute because I like how they have different kinds of creatures in this film. Because you have the Archelian sand beetles, you have the arachnids, the tanker, the smart bug or the brain bug, whatever you want to call it. Like I like how there was different breeds within this entire species. Like it was cool, and they each had like their own kind of unique set of like skills. Like if Liam Neeson was a bug, it's really interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, freaking. Yeah, I love the bug designs in this movie.
Yeah,
They do a really good job at making them look really fucking nasty and horrifying, but also kind of like, kind of like they are sentient, obviously. They are capable of thought and whatnot, but I love that this movie is like, it is presented as a propaganda piece. And, upon research, the director, Paul Verhoeven, was heavily inspired by Nazi propaganda while he was making this movie. And he took inspiration from how those campaigns would go in Nazi Germany, and he applied it to this film. And it's very interesting because, you pick up you definitely pick up on that, but upon research I discovered that like a lot of people picked up like the opposite message was saying that it is encouraging this entire behavior, but the entire movie doesn't condone this behavior whatsoever. If anything, it's more critical on it, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad
The
you
mo-
brought up the point of. Sorry to cut you off, Matt. Just really quick, I like how you brought up the whole Nazi Germany comparison because if you look at their outfits, they definitely gave me an Auschwitz kind of vibe. I was just like, they're like the Nazis, right? I was just kind of like you see it like, and I just want to bring this up too. Like I totally forgot Neil Patrick Harris was in this movie. Like when you
Oh
see him,
yeah.
that gives me full on Nazi Germany vibes.
Yeah.
Like just see that entire fit, the hat. I was like, God damn,
His whole suit, yeah.
The black
Straight up.
jacket, yeah.
100%.
Like that's another thing too, is that the military even thought that they were the superior race, and they thought, oh, we could just go and kill all these bugs because they're just bugs. Like we could just annihilate them. We're their superior race. Like these things are stupid. Like there's no way that they could beat us. And that's like the genocidal like mindset that led them to this. Like that's something that I didn't actually pick up until you just said that right now. I was like, oh wow, that they really are Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just, yeah, it's just a lot of this commentary. Well, like I said, the entire movie is presented as one giant propaganda piece. And I love that in like those earlier scenes when they would cut to the monitor of explaining to you like, oh, like this is why they're bad, or you need to shoot the arachnid in this specific spot, or yada
Yeah.
yada. But I love in those earlier scenes you see some of those other, you see like background characters in those propaganda pieces. And I love by the end of it, you see our main characters now in that propaganda piece.
Mm-hmm.
And it just further hits the nail on the head that, like, shit, this is just going to be another process. It's just going to keep going.
And I like how you brought up the full circle aspect of the propaganda advertisement the movie is. Like, I liked how in the beginning of the advertisement for the infantry, it's like it's the reporter on the ground during the war when they're invading the Arachnids' nest, and like you see him get devoured and everything. Like, it's just supposed to be just a random like soldiers or whatever coming in, and then later on in the movie you realize that no, it's Rico and his squad and everybody else. Like, they're there, like they're like that's
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
like I because I realized it like once they were at the arachnid nest. I was like, wait. Or like when I heard the reporter talking, I said, wait, isn't that the same reporter from the beginning? Oh my god. And then like it all clicked and it was really cool. Like, so I like how you brought that point up, because it's kind of what the movie does, and it does it subtly. It does it really well.
Well, yeah, and then, like, that's another thing I love about this movie too, because like there is a lot of commentary on fascism and whatnot. But even if you do take that away, like, you still do have like a very entertaining action movie. Honestly, like, all of those aspects are presented, very well. Like, and I'm looking at the budget of this thing, and it was like $100 million budget. And you could really tell, like, you could tell that there was a lot of work put into the effects, the creature effects, the whole look of this movie. Like, they did a really good job at making this look like a very, multi-million-dollar blockbuster. But it just so happens to have like this, fascism message in it. And, like I said, upon research, there was a lot of people that, interpreted the message in many different ways. But like, aside from that, like, even on a surface level, this is still a very entertaining movie.
It is. Like, I loved how brutal the kills were in the movie. Like, how savage, like, all the bug creatures are. Like, when the arachnids are just tearing people up, I'm just like, God damn.
Yeah, like, dude. And there's there's scenes of, like, when they're being killed, they're still dangerous. Like that, like, they're freaking, like, their razor sharp, like, tusks can, like, fall down on somebody and fucking, like, take out their leg or something.
Yeah,
like Jesus Christ.
Rico, the main character. So Rico Howell's getting stabbed in the leg.
It wasn't great. I thought I died, and apparently so did everyone else. Okay, so all honesty, I want to say this real quick. This was my favorite movie all throughout my childhood, because the main character's name was Johnny Rico. And I was like, oh my god! I've never heard my name other than myself before. Like, I never met anyone named Rico. I never heard anyone say anything about Rico other than Rico Suave, of course. But the main character, Rico, being the most badass character in this entire movie, I was like, this was my freaking childhood, dude. I watched this movie so many times.
And now that we're on, like, the subject of characters, I just want to say, Dizzy. I love Dizzy. She was great. And like when she like, spoilers obviously, guys, like when she actually died, I was like, Dizzy, no, you should have been with Rico.
Yeah, dude.
That's okay. That is one criticism I have of this movie. I'm glad you brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
But I hate that death scene because, bro, I'm sorry, Rico, but like, he got her killed basically.
Yeah,
he did.
Like, he calls out to her, and in that period of time where she turns around, she gets stabbed. And like, and don't get me wrong, like, I understand that this movie is like a satire, and like, like, it is really weird because, like, most movies have like a love triangle. Fucking this movie has like a love square. It's so fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I definitely do feel like this was something intentional on Paul Verhoeven's part. It definitely does come across like he's kind of making like a, not like an anti-movie, but he does, instead of going the traditional route, he's doing kind of like the opposite, or like something you wouldn't expect. because like by the end of a traditional movie, our main characters would end up together, but by the end of this movie, it's kind of just presented in a way of like you know they're still friends, but
Yeah.
they're not. It's not presented in a way of like, oh, they're gonna live happily ever after and yada yada. Like that's essentially what would happen in a traditional movie. But by the end of this movie, it's kind of like, oh well, man, we don't really fucking care. We're just gonna have our characters do what they're gonna do now. And I like I said, that does kind of feed into like the propaganda piece kind of message that they're kind of going for, but you know, I don't know. I was gonna bring up the point of what you guys thought about the love square, but to go back to the main point of Dez's death, I did not like that whatsoever. That was
Mhm.
something where I was like, oh come on, you could have written that a little bit better. Rico did not need to say something in that moment to
Yeah.
get killed.
And it's really
Yeah, what
weird.
the fuck, Rico?
Yeah,
Why
I'm
did he
sorry.
kill?
I'm sorry. But yeah, I don't know why. So it's like it was definitely written terribly because it's like
Yes.
Rico is the kind of guy that reacts like immediately. He's like the moment he sees something, boom, he shoots it, or boom, he does this. Like let's quick to act. Like everyone's terrified of seeing like the drones coming out, and he's like no one knows what to do, and then he's all like, kill the son of a bitches, like shoot them down, like send them to hell, like that kind of stuff. Like he's always like quick to act. And then in this, like, he's like, Dizzy, no! Instead of just picking up his gun and shooting, because if she kept running, she would have made it. And he could have, like,
Yeah.
covered her. And it's
Actually-
just terrible. It's terrible writing on that part. And it's like,
Definitely.
why? But her actual death, like, I thought her acting was sick, dude. Like, I was like, that is an ugly death. Like, that's ugly. Like, that's not appealing. It's not like she, like, slowly succumbs to death and has like a peaceful look on her face and like slowly lowers her head, closes her eyes, and like looks peaceful. It's like, oh, she's no longer in pain. No, like, dude, she suffered. Like she was like begging. She's like, please don't let me go. Please don't let me go. Like that kind of stuff. Like she begged. Like that was sad. That was really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, for the movie being like a satire, it does have moments like that where like you do feel the emotion of that moment, and you're like, "Oh shit, this is actually presented very well, honestly." And that's just I mean, and I've also like seen some criticism towards the acting, which personally it didn't really bother me. I mean, like I said, this movie is trying to go for a satire, so like every time it is going for like one of those movies, I think it does succeed. I mean, even with the acting too, like Casper Van Dien or Dina Meyer, Denise Richards, like they all do their parts very well.
They do.
With whatever they're being presented with or how they're trying to approach it. I think it does. Like as a propaganda piece, it does get pulled off very well. And with that direction, I do feel like that was given to the actors, like, oh, kind of act like it in this way and whatnot. And I also want to go back to the point where it does kind of, like I said, it does kind of feel like it's subverting your expectations in terms of like going down the traditional movie path. This is kind of just going in a lot of different directions and trying numerous different things. And for the most part, I think they do work for the most part because I think it does feed into the overall movie and the message of the movie.
I definitely agree. It's another thing I wanted to bring up. Clancy Brown. He plays the drill sergeant in the film. Sergeant Zim. For those who don't know, he voices Lex Luthor in a lot of like anime projects, and he's also the voice of Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob. So that tells you that's a man with a lot of range. Like
That's fucking crazy.
I guess I saw him, I was like, Clancy Brown. Oh my god.
Yeah, dude. Like Clancy Brown was so good in his role. He was very over the top and like he just owned it, man. Like I love that, and I love how even for like a character like Sergeant Zim, like they still had like a little bit of an arc going on with him, like they kind of like said, oh yeah, the only way you're gonna get on the ground is if you reduce your rank, and then at the end, because he reduced his rank, he basically saved the human race by capturing the brain bug. And like that's the funny thing is that he's like the big hero. Like,
and he didn't even have the most screen time. Like, and I love throughout the movie how he's just always just like medic. Like every time he fucks up one of his recruits,
breaks an arm, stabs someone's hand. It's like, I don't know if you're going to be training soldiers, if that's like the good thing to do, just by maiming them.
Yeah.
But I mean, their medical technology is like insane, apparently. Like,
well, yeah, Rico had a hole. He had a hole in his leg, and he was okay.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, okay, we're that far in the future. I mean, apparently this is like the 23rd century, so it is like, I think, 200, 300 years from now.
Yeah, very technologically advanced.
Yeah, and then they also have like mechanical prosthetics, like fully functional ones, seemingly too.
Mm-hmm.
You see that in Michael Ironside's character, Gene Radzak. How do you pronounce?
Radzak, I think.
Oh, Razak? I don't know.
Something like that.
Razak was the was he the hard ass that trained Rico?
No, that was Sergeant Zim. But
that's Sergeant Zim. Oh,
yeah,
okay,
Michael Ironside's character was the teacher in high school that turned out to be a complete badass that was leading the Roughnecks.
Mm-hmm.
That essentially saved Rico and his entire platoon.
Yeah.
Wait, so he was the like basically like their commander, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and the later half.
And then Rico became his like right hand man, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
I just wanted to make sure we were talking about the same guy.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about his? Or spoiler alert! Like, how did you guys feel about what happens to him in the movie?
Makes sense.
Okay, so I gotta say, I watched this again with my girlfriend, and we busted up laughing because it was this whole thing where I would expect anyone to do the same to me if I was ever in a situation where death is assured, put me out of my misery. And when he lost his legs, Rico is like told, "Hey, you know what to do," and he gets up, takes his big ass rifle, and then shoots him in the belly.
Yeah, I know, man.
Well, I mean, he does hesitate. I mean, I'll give him some.
The belly.
He does hesitate a little bit. But yeah, I would have been like, yeah, go for the head, dude.
Like,
come on, man.
Like,
he's already suffering.
Yeah, if he didn't lose his legs, I would have imagined he would have shot him in the kneecaps. Because, like, that's, other than the kneecaps, the belly is the worst place to get shot at.
Yeah.
And you don't die immediately. And you could see that in his face when he was still getting sunk into the sand. Like, he looked like he was like, fuck! Like, he looked like he was still alive.
Like, he was still getting devoured and everything. Like, yikes, man.
Like, Rico must have hated him, dude.
I also want to bring up, I actually liked his speech at the beginning of the classroom where he talks about how the military took over because of the failure of democracy. Like, I like that. That was a good line. I'd like that.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say that as a quote. I completely forgot to say that in the beginning.
You know what, Rico? It's cool because I literally have it written down in my notes as well as like in quotations, failure of democracy.
Yep. And so,
nice. I got a few quotes here too.
What did you guys...
Come on, you apes! You want to live forever?
Yeah.
That one, and then the propaganda ad where the guy was like, "The only good bug is a dead one."
Yeah.
It made the movie like that much more enjoyable.
So, what did you guys think of Rico's romantic rival in the form of Xander?
I mean, like I said, this is kind of like one of those things where it's kind of like, oh, here's what a traditional movie would do. Like, this kind of just, like I said, most movies kind of do love triangles. There's a love square here. Like, it's so weird because, like, okay, Desi loves Rico, and Rico loves Carmen, and Carmen loves Ace or Xander? What's his name? Xander,
Xander,
right?
yeah.
Okay, and Xander, well, obviously he just wants pussy.
Hmm.
Obviously he likes Carmen, so there's that. But but essentially there's a square here, and I didn't personally love it. I mean, that was probably like my least favorite aspect of the movie, the whole love square. I mean, it does kind of. I mean, the entire time I was wondering, like, okay, like, what's the point of this? And I don't know. The only conclusion that I came through in my head was that Paul Verhoeven was just kind of like, I don't know. I think he was just kind of goofing on romance in these types of movies. This is kind of like a very awful setting to have a romance. And, there's a lot of movies that kind of do that same scenario where they have a romance in, like, war torn something. And, I definitely feel like it's kind of like a satire on romance in big movies. That's kind of what I got from it. What did you guys think?
What did you think, Andrew?
Well, I definitely think there was some real hot tension between Rico and Xander, if you ask me. That was a real love story there. But I definitely agree with you, Matt. Like, I definitely feel like it was probably a satire on it, but at the same time, I feel like I didn't need it in the movie at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
that's like.
Yeah.
I could definitely see why there was like I could see like maybe the love triangle. I feel like Xander was just kind of there. He kind of didn't need to be there. He didn't really move the plot forward in any kind of way. Only when it came to the love square, which again wasn't really needed.
Yeah. That's like my biggest gripe is Carmen's character. I really just disliked her. Like,
Mm.
even as a human
Bro,
being.
yeah.
Yeah, even as a human being, I just felt like she's shit. Like, I feel like if you're gonna try to like breed insecurity in your partner, like in any relationship, you just follow Carmen's fucking like playbook. Like everything she did was just like rude as hell. Like Rico was telling her like, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable around that guy. I know that he's just trying to flirt with you, and it's obvious, and you're leading him on." And she's like, "Hey, come on, hey, come on."
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
Yeah.
He was the
Don't
female
worry
version.
about him. I only work with him every single day.
yeah, like oh, he just has similar interests in me, and he's good looking, and I've made googly eyes at him, and I was talking to him while you guys were playing a football game, and I'm just over here getting like super close, you know. In the
I know
moment,
when I saw that, I was like, "This bitch."
yeah. And it's like the only thing that I liked from Xander was that pretty much at the end when he's about to get beaten by the brain bug, he has his whole like defiant speech, and he's like, "One day, someone like me is gonna kick your ass," basically. And I like that because it shows that Xander and Rico are not different people. Like if they were like if they were just on the same team in any aspect, like if they were on the same football team or whatever kind of game that was, or if they were on the same like infantry or air force pilots, like they would have been a hella good like tag team. But
It would have been
everything that they were
probably.
like put up against, they were just opposing. Like if they were just ever as a team, they would have been a fucking force, dude.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, for me, like that kind of just ties into like this kind of being a satire and doing a subversion of a traditional movie, you know, and I kind of just feel like that kind of plays into it because like in a traditional movie, usually they would kind of get together and they would kick ass and save the day and whatnot, but homeboy gets his spoiler alert, homeboy gets his brain sucked out of him, and you don't really see much of Xander anymore. But I don't know. I like the I do kind of like that he does die in a way. He does kind of not like he does serve a purpose in the sense that I actually have that line written down where he says like one day someone like me is going to kill you and your entire fucking
Beast.
family, or
Or,
actually
yeah.
that's not the quote. It's not family, your fucking race, my bad.
Mhm.
But yeah, I do like that. I do like that he is presented as like that. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, him and Rico basically damn near are the same character, but one of
Mhm.
them gets taken out and the other gets to go on and continue that ideology of like, all right, we're gonna fucking kill them all. Like even Rico inherits the line that Gene Ray, I don't know how to say his name,
Michael Ironside.
Isaac. Yeah, so I like that he inherits the quote. This is for all you new people. I have one rule: no one quits. If you don't do your job, I'll kill you myself. And I love that he inherits that line because they got shit to fight, and like I said, it does kind of harken back to the whole commentary on fascism and whatnot. So I like that it just comes back around, and like I said, this process is just going to keep continuing on.
Exactly. Yeah, and I liked the other line he inherited from Rasak. Now you got me messed up
It's
the name, man.
Razik. I just remembered right now. It's Razik.
It's
Rasak.
one of those names.
Yeah, it's. Oh, Razik did this. I remember it. It's Razik now.
Yeah, but when Razik says to him like, "I'll use you for now until I can find someone better, or you're dead," and then he says that later to Neil Patrick Harris's character
Mm-hmm.
when he says, "So do you want the job now that your former boss is dead?" And he was like, "Yeah, until you find someone better, or I'm killed." And I was just like, "Oh wow!" Like it's literally like Matt was saying, like it's just a endless cycle,
Yeah,
just with
exactly.
different people in the cycle each time.
Yeah, in this you can obviously see where Rico starts like becoming the man he is at the end of the movie because of all the people throughout the movie that built his character up that he took as like role models. Like uh even Ace, like his jarhead friend, like he even like had like a like camaraderie with him. Like at first they're like enemies or whatever. They wanted the same spot,
Yeah,
and then at the end of it, like he's like, "Hey, look at us! Now we're the old guys." And
Yeah,
I just love it. Like everyone in the movie, like kind of has an impact on Rico, and he actually develops, which you don't see that in these kinds of like movies where it's a lot of like sci-fi satire and just like just mindless fun kind of, well, not mindless, but
I mean, I don't think that's a bad point. I mean, like I said, I mean, this movie does echo a lot of like entertainment. I mean, aside from like all the political messaging in it, it is a very entertaining movie. And I mean, yeah, it does have like kind of like a little mindless quality where like the action comes in, and a lot of it's just like kind of balls to the walls. Like, here's the battle, here's the big set piece. And I was gonna see if you guys picked up on this in any of the action scenes, but like, did any of this remind you guys of Halo in any way, shape, or
exactly,
form?
yes.
guess what?
Okay,
With
Yeah,
the Arboretor
es-
set.
especially oh yeah, but especially with the big beetle, the anti-air beetle. It reminds me of the
yeah,
scarab. Yeah, or I believe is it the scarab?
yeah. And I was like, I was curious if you knew if Halo was in any way inspired by this.
Oh, I wish it was. I don't know for sure though. I wish I found a quote
It
for that.
definitely seems like it.
Yeah,
Like that was the one thing that popped into my head while I was watching this. I was like, "Holy shit!" Like a lot of the armory and like a lot of the, well, yeah, that one scene where you said about the scarab or like the beetle looking beings when they were shooting up their blue grenades or whatever. Yeah, it was very like Halo reminiscent to me.
I definitely got a Halo vibe for sure. You just, like I was saying, you just got to replace the Arachnids with the Arborators. Just replace the military in this with Halo Troopers. Like you definitely can feel similarities for sure.
yeah, and that's something that I didn't think of until after the movie is with Halo, like you can obviously see like the humans going up against like the aliens and everything, and it's very cohesive. In this movie, I feel like the humans going up against like the alien bugs in this, like it's super like it's pretty damn good. Like you can like see how humans can exist in this and they can actually like pose as a threat but then be completely overwhelmed. Like a lot of it is like it looks really good stylistically. It's like it's not like, oh yeah, there's a an actor standing next to like a CGI bug or anything. It's like it feels like they're all in the same space, and I love that. Like that's something that I really wish a Halo movie would kind of be a part of, because it's like a lot of the times you see I can't remember what it was. I think it was Forward Unto Dawn. Is that what it was called?
I think.
Are you talking about a Halo movie?
Yeah.
I can Google it really quick, but go on, dude.
Yeah, well anyways, it really does look I mean, it looks good still, but I mean, it just kind of feels like they're not actually in the same space. Like, I believe it's one of the brutes like beating up like all of the soldiers and everything, and it just doesn't look like they're there on the same thing. But it still looks good. But that's just something that I wish like stylistically a Halo movie would try to like copy from how this movie is laid out with like everything. Because if you just some of it looks like it could just be a palette swap. Like that scarab, like you could imagine someone jumping onto the back of a scarab, shooting that weak spot and blowing that scarab up. Like you can see that. I just feel like that's like super easy to do. And then with all the different cast systems in it too.
Didn't Rico do it in the movie? Didn't he like get on the back of one and like fuck it up basically?
Yeah, that's what he did. Yeah, I was like, that is total like that's total Halo right there. Like before Halo was Halo. Yeah, dude, exactly, Master Chief.
So then, you're probably excited for the Halo series coming out, huh, Rico?
I haven't looked into it at all. I am like, I want to like sometimes I just want to watch it all in one go, and I don't want to hear anything about it until I sit down and get to it.
Right.
But where's that coming out? Is that Paramount?
Yeah, Paramount. Yeah.
I gotta get Paramount.
Do you?
If I get Paramount, I'll just share it with you guys.
I would just get Paramount for like SpongeBob and then Halo. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. All the SpongeBob reruns.
Damn right.
Hey, so what'd you guys think of some of the bugs?
Yeah, freaking. Oh, really quick. Was Forward Onto Dawn the movie you were talking about, Rico?
Yeah, that is. I wasn't sure if I said the name right. I was like, Forward Unto Dawn? I don't know. Then I started,
you were correct, bud.
Yeah, I started thinking of Until Dawn the game, and I was like, I don't think I'm right. I think I'm wrong. Whoops.
But yeah, I did love how the bugs looked in this movie. It's crazy because, like, you know, the entire movie is kind of setting them up as, like, these mindless, heartless creatures. But at the end of the movie, you do discover that they are sentient. They do have feelings. Like for example, where they kidnap the, oh my god, what's her name? Not Desi, the other girl.
Oh, Carmen.
They kidnap Carmen and Xander, and, you know, they take them in there, and they don't kill them right off the bat. And as soon as you see that, you're like, okay, these things are intelligent. They want to keep them for some reason. And there was even, like, this shot early on in the movie where they were basically, like, cleaning up the remnants of the battle earlier. Like, I think they just carpet bombed the place, and all of the arachnids are dead. And so there's some crews going out there to just basically finish up the rest. And they come across one, and they all shoot it to shit. And then there's this last shot where you see this being with its eye looking at them. And then one of the soldiers, his first initial reaction is to just blast it to pieces. You know, like, instead of, like, acknowledging that this thing is sentient and has feelings, it's his initial response is to just destroy it and kill it. And, again, another thing they kind of just harkens back to the themes of these movies. And yeah, freaking, I thought they're kind of, it is sad that they're getting basically annihilated. I think there was like some shots in the movie that are implying that basically the humans started the war and freaking we're just annihilating the bugs just cuz.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they said something about like, oh, this planet is habitable, so we're gonna take it and we're gonna kill off the indigenous species of the bugs, basically. But yeah, I gotta say, like what you were saying with the bugs, like they did have like feelings and everything, and they knew like that the humans were gonna come because they sucked out that one human's brain over in that one fort that they eventually find. Because you can see one of the worker bugs that carries around the brain bug. There's like a corpse of that left there, and then you see that the intel guy had his brain sucked out, and it kind of just shows that they set a trap for the humans. Like they knew that the humans were going to attack, so they sent out a distress beacon, and then when the humans were coming, they're like, oh yeah, those things, those big blue flashes of light that are coming at us, they're just light. They're just going to pass right through us. Like, and then when they start taking hits and exploding from them, they're getting devastated by these big blue energy projectiles. The commander of the fleet says, someone made a big fucking mistake. Like, with this, these weren't supposed to be like damaging in any way. It was just supposed to be flashes of light. Like, we're getting destroyed out here. And it's because the bugs sent them false information, and they actually thought that through. So it was like these bugs are actually really fucking intelligent, and it's like it's a hive mind essentially. Oh yeah, grave mind, like oh yeah, brain bug, grave mind. Awesome. Anyways, but yeah, it's like a hive mind, and it's like overwhelm them with the drones, attack them from the sky with the flying bugs. And then go underneath the ground for with the scarabs. Like they had like so many different ways, like distract them with a frontal assault, and then just get underneath them, get above them. Like they were smart as hell. Like I love that they just utilized it. Andrew, what about you?
I definitely think that the way the bugs were not only utilized, but just like I had mentioned in the beginning, how there are different kinds. There's not just like, they're all just one same species. Like, like in the Alien movies, they were just the xenomorphs. And like in the Dead Space video games, they were just necromorphs. And then, or like in zombie movies where they're just zombies. I like how there's different kinds of bugs, and they all had different attributes. And I also like just how they use those attributes throughout the film. Like, I like how menacing like the tanker bug was when it first showed up, and like they had not mentioned it at all. Like I liked how they only explain what the sand beetle and the arachnids are, and we don't find out about the smart bug and the tanker until they get to Calanthu. Was that the name of the planet? Or Clendathu or something?
Clendathu,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clendathu, yeah. So I actually really liked how the bugs were utilized throughout the film. Like, and it's also the argument. Like I believe they even mention it briefly as like a throwaway line throughout all the propaganda advertising, where they say some people make the argument that we started the war with the bugs, and there should be a live and let live kind of thing with the bug species of Calanthu. And I was like, that's really interesting.
Yeah, the bugs in this are freaking. They look disgusting.
Yeah.
Oh man, the close up of the brain bug. Oof.
Yeah, that thing in particular, like I don't know what it took inspiration from, but it looked like like a butterfly larva or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
100% sure. But yeah, I love that scene with that thing at the end where like Neil Patrick Harris is going up with his psychic powers.
Oh,
which is a really weird point that like doesn't really get brought up again in the movie.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was just like, what?
Uh,
Okay.
how did
And
you
then
guys
like he
feel
goes up and
about
touches
that?
the thing, and he's like, "It's afraid," and just everyone starts cheering like, "Fuck yeah! Whoa!" Like, yeah, no shit, it's afraid. Like, you just killed its entire race. Like, what? Well, not its entire race, but like in that scene, like he killed all its friends in the cave and everything.
yeah,
Like,
he
no
killed
shit, that
people
thing's afraid.
who scared
Yeah, it's like, okay, so I feel like we touched on this psychic thing and we haven't really dived into it.
Yeah,
What the hell was psychic? Like, what was that about?
I don't.
Yeah, I don't know, honestly.
Maybe it's part of the sci-fi spoofing satire part of the movie, but it was like they didn't do anything with it. They just brought it up the one time, and then I feel like they brought it up the one time just so they could have the excuse to have Neil Patrick Harris's character do the whole "it's afraid" sequence. You know?
My only thought is like, because it's set in the future, like, oh, humans have become so intelligent that they've actually developed like telepathic powers, or they can like start to they're so intelligent now that they can actually have an impact on other lesser beings. And that's what I was thinking, but they didn't really. And spoiler, there are multiple movies after this, so but they never really go into depth with the psychic power aspect really that much ever again. And the only reason why they kind of talked about it was so that Rico could take the right tunnel to go find Carmen. And then
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of
Yeah,
it. Like,
it was very weird to me. It definitely stood out. Like, I took it as like maybe what you said, like, humans are so advanced, maybe it's just like an evolutionary thing. And, they do sort them accordingly because, like, Neil Patrick Harris's character is, like, apparently just very intelligent. He ends up in, like, oh my God, what does he end up in the military? Like, basically in intelligence. Like, he's
yeah,
trying to figure out, like, his section is trying to figure out how to combat the creatures and how to kill them and whatnot. Well, Rico, obviously he ended up in, the grunt force and shit. And then, yeah, freaking, I don't know, the whole, psychic aspect is very, it just comes out of left field. I honestly don't really know what to make of it because it doesn't really have too much of an impact either.
It feels kind of tacked on, to be honest.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that's something like definitely you would have to watch like the director's commentary to figure more about. Like even if he does delve into it, like yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I really didn't know what to make of it. So weird.
that's honestly something like that would probably be like a part of one of my gripes about the movie is that the beginning of the movie sets it off like, oh, here's our three characters, Carmen, Rico, and then Neil Patrick Harris, and they all go into three different branches of the military. One goes to infantry, uh, the pilot, and the other one goes into intelligence, but you just forget about him. And then it's like you only focus on the infantry and the pilots, but it's like I was really curious. I would have liked to have seen Neil Patrick Harris's like what they were doing there, like what like they could have like had a whole story going on with that instead of like the love thing. And it was just like
Yes,
I
yes,
I don't
yes.
know why they did that. That was a weird choice. Like I feel like you
Really
could have
weird.
explored the psychic uh, topic like way more if you just included his story, and I feel like it'd have been a better movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like how Andrew said. It definitely does feel kind of tacked on because it just doesn't really have much of.
Anything, to be honest. It doesn't hold any weight in the long run of the film. Like it's just there.
Exactly.
Yeah, and even from like a satirical standpoint, I'm still not really picking anything up. I'm just like I don't really know what lens to look at this through. I don't know. I'll do more research on it. I mean, maybe I'll bring it up in next episode. But yeah, it is definitely like a weird, interesting point.
I mean, they kind of hinted at it being like Neil Patrick Harris was getting better at his psychic abilities because in the beginning he's all like, "Oh, I can only give suggestions to like animals. Like I can't give suggestions to humans yet. And then at
Hmm.
the end of the movie, Rico's like, "Hey, you're the one that told me that Carmen was down that way, huh?" And it's like, okay, is that going to become anything? But because he's able to give suggestions to humans now, so I'm like, is that going to, like, how did that happen? And is that going to lead to anything? But it never does.
Yeah, it's just there, and I kind of that took me out of the movie for a minute too. But like most of the movies we watch and talk about, it didn't ruin it for me.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I still had a fantastic time with this. This was still right up my alley. This is definitely my cup of tea, Rico. I
Hell
still
yeah.
loved it.
I am glad
Well,
for that. These are some of my favorite movies. And I don't know. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we get into ratings?
um, go check this one out, guys. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, no excuse not to.
All right. I guess we're ready to get into ratings then, man. Andrew,
Okay.
you want to go into it first?
Yeah, for sure. Well, just right off the bat, my rating for this is 8 out of 10. It was a great propaganda piece. It was so ridiculous in terms of like how it presents its messaging using space bugs and an alien war to get the whole point across of how like, hey, war isn't exactly what it's made out to be. So be careful, kind of thing. So I really enjoyed that messaging in the movie.
War never changes.
War never changes.
Matt, how about you, my man?
Yeah, freaking. I would say I loved this more than the Blob, for sure. This definitely gave me a lot more to chew on. Like I said earlier, it definitely works both on a political satire and also a very entertaining action movie level, and it pulls them off both very well. I was very very entertained by this movie. The effects, the writing, the writing could have been a little better in a few parts, but it doesn't really bother me overall. The acting, directing, like everything was done very well here. Like I said earlier, this is definitely my cup of tea. I love these styles of movies, especially when they're presented very well. So yeah, I'm gonna rate this one very high. I'm gonna give this one a 9 out of 10.
Ooh.
It's near perfect. I think that's the highest rating I've given so far.
I think it is,
Yeah,
actually.
I love this.
It is.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
this is probably like my out of everything we've watched on the podcast. This is my favorite movie so far, 100%.
Nice.
Hell yeah, man. I'm glad to hear that, dude. That made my day.
Yeah, Rico, dude, you gave us some great movies for this episode. It was. I'm glad we watched it. I'm glad we got to talk about them, and I'm glad people are going to hear us talk about it.
All right. Well, I'm the one that brought this one up, so this is my rating. So I gotta say, I do have to look at it a little bit more critically on certain areas. Like some of the characters are just unlikable, man. Like it does put a sour taste in your mouth. And then the characters that you do like for instance Dizzy, it seems like she's two different characters. Like one is like the super analytical jarhead that's like a straight up leader that's like able to match Rico like tit for tat. Like they just like work as such a cohesive unit. And then in other scenes, it's like a completely different person where she's just like completely head over heels over him. Is just like simping super hard. Like she's the thirstiest person in the world, dude. Like it's crazy how hard she throws herself at Rico, and it's like I really don't see like any middle ground between that. And but I mean that, and then the psychic. There's just seems like there's like a whole like other side of the movie that is missing. Now that I've watched it more in my adult years, so I gotta say this one is still like one of my favorite movies. This has got to be like an 8 out of 10 for me. Like I love this movie. Before I watched it again as an adult, I would say it was a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. But now that I watch it with a more critical like thought process on it, I would say it's an 8 out of 10. Still one of my favorite movies though.
It's a great movie.
Hell yeah. Yeah, this was, like I said, this is my favorite recommended, or just movie on the podcast in general. This is hands down my favorite. Definitely, like, exposed me to something that I loved, and I appreciate that, Rico. I mean, that's what this whole podcast is about. We're definitely going to find some more interesting movies along the lines, but yeah, some we'll love, some you won't. This is one I loved a lot, and hell yeah, I appreciate it, dude. This will for sure be in my Blu-ray collection soon.
Nice.
Hell yeah, dude.
Okay, so all right, is that about it? That was all our ratings. Yeah, 2 8s and 1 9. That's what we have for Starship Troopers. So yeah, that will conclude this episode of another movie podcast. Next week we are going to. Well, I'm not 100% sure. I was going to bring it up with my fellows here. I was going to suggest that we talk about Morbius next episode for episode 5. It'll just be a full episode of Morbius.
Oh boy.
So yeah, so Sony / Marvel's latest product.
I am looking forward to it.
Marvel legend.
Yep.
As the ad keeps saying.
Yeah, I know. It's so cringe. It's so like
terrible.
I mean, yeah, guys. The Rotten Tomatoes on this is like 17%. You know, I'm not going into this with high expectations. I mean, not like I was beforehand. You know,
right.
Venom 1 and 2 are, you know, enough of a track record to make you want to stay away from this shit. But you know, honestly, if it wasn't for the podcast, I probably wouldn't check this out. But you know what? I think we're going to get some good talks out of it. So we're going to do it.
You know what?
Definitely.
I feel like this has a lot of potential. I have a lot of expectations for it just because I feel like this is going to be the lowest rated movie that we give.
I think so.
Honestly,
I'm excited.
I don't think anything can top Texas Chainsaw. I gave that like a 2 out of 10. I don't think it'll be that bad, but it's going to be like somewhere in that range for sure.
Oh, Matt, you never know.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, that is true. Shit, we've had Four Stick and like in the regular Fantastic Fours. Like we definitely had some garbage.
Hey, I'm just looking forward to seeing if Jared Leto redeems himself in another comic role.
I'm not.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm over Jared at this point. Like he's already butchered the DC universe. Now he has to come over to Marvel and do the same. Like fuck him.
Jared Leto, get out of here.
At least it's in the Sonyverse of the Marvel side, you know?
True. I will give it that.
A lot of damage has already been done, so I mean...
Yeah, like, I don't mind this, you know, staining Sony's IP whatsoever. This is just... Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're just going to be talking about it for fun at this point.
Hell
you know?
Yeah.
I'm also going to rewatch... Well... I don't think I'll rewatch Venom, but I've never watched Venom 2, so I'll probably watch that in preparation for this. I'm not saying we have to do like a full-on discussion on it, but, you know, for context, I will watch it in preparation for this. So, yeah, next episode is it's gonna be quite the shindig. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, looking forward to it, dude.
Oh man. And there's just one more thing I want to bring up really quick. I just remembered this because we were talking about the very kind comment that we got. I actually received a message from a really good friend of mine. Her name is Araceli, and she had given me a couple notes on our podcast, but overall she said that she really enjoyed our conversation and liked our points of view. So I just want to give her a shout out and say thank you for listening. I appreciate you, homie. So I just wanted to put that in there really quick too.
Hell yeah. You're awesome, girl. Sorry about my shitty audio in the first 2 episodes.
Hey, I just want to continue spreading that positivity. I've been super jazzed about this, and I hope that when we do see a lot more growth, I hope that we keep this positivity going.
100%. So with that, thank you guys. We love you. For those who are watching us come up.
Most definitely. To all our 10 subscribers, we're going to make it 20 to 30 by next week.
Damn
Hell
right.
yeah.
Are
Exponential
there anything else
growth.
you guys want to plug in?
No, that's all I had.
No, other than stay on the lookout for Practically Done, which is a series about us implementing practical effects into our own skits that we are planning on doing in the coming weeks. Other than that,
Yes.
social media. Matt, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, just follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Our Facebook is Another Movie Podcast, while our Instagram is AM Podcast 01. Give us a like and follow, and yeah, nothing else I really want to plug in. Yeah, like I said, episode 5 is going to be on Morbius. Going to be a full-on spoiler discussion. And yeah, just be prepared. I won't say watch it. You do that on your own if you want to put yourself through that torture. I'm not going to stop you, but it is going to be a spoiler conversation. So if you don't want to be spoiled, check it out. And yeah, we'll hear you guys next week. Anything else you guys want to plug in, or are we good?
I say we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. We'll get going. And all you people have a great afternoon, night, day, whatever. I don't know when you're listening to this. Just have a good day.
Just happy
Yeah.
you're listening.
Just have a good everything. Have a good day. Have a good life. Have a good breakfast. The most important meal of the day. You know.
Bang.
Perfect.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, have a good day, my man. Take it easy, guys.
Later, dudes.